I will show you the ways of the desert. Come with me.
In the sci-fi saga called Dune, the ways of the desert is ever present, regarded as something beautiful and necessary, guiding the characters towards their destiny. In Star Wars, the desert plays a noticeable part of the story and gets revisited quite often. Yet when we first experience it in A New Hope, it's portrayed more as a harsh and annoying environment.
What a desolate place this is.
This simple comparison shows how easy it is to spot correlations between these two popular franchises, yet it simultaneously displays that these resemblances aren't really resemblances. That when you dig deeper and look within, you realize that the similarities are just a few grains of sand in a much larger desert.
What is the message? What is the statement that you're attempting to make here?
Don't trust leaders to always be right.
The Dune series, which consists of 6 books written by Frank Herbert, was a huge success. The first one, called Dune, published in 1965, is the story of how Paul Atreides becomes this powerful leader that would go on and conquer the universe. It's also the part of the story that so far has been portrayed in a different medium. Notably, there is the classic film directed by David Lynch, but perhaps a bit more relevant today, the 2 fantastic pictures by Denis Villeneuve.
May thy knife chip and shatter. May thy knife chip and shatter.
With Star Wars being released a few years after this sci-fi book revelation, it was undeniable that George Lucas would have heard about it. And it's true that Dune inspired parts of Star Wars, but so did, to name a few, The Hidden Forest by Akira Kurosawa and Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. While Star Wars does share some themes with Dune, such as the grand scale, as well as the focus on war, destiny, and family, the argument that George Lucas stole the idea of Star Wars from the book is to me completely absurd. First of all, Dune is a world that's presented in an immensely more complex way. It's darker, more profound, and critiques many of the foundations our society is built on. Star Wars, on the other hand, is more light-hearted and straightforward, making it clear who you should root for and why. In this sense, they're almost opposites, both conveying a message about power, but with Dune taking a more pessimistic view, while Star Wars offers a more optimistic one.
I think power attracts the corruptible.
What is it, that government is a shared illusion, and when the myth dies,
yes. The myth dies,
government disappears?
That's right.
Myths help you to have your own hero's journey, find your individuality, find your place in the world, but hopefully remind you that you're part of a whole and that you must also be part of the community.
Perhaps the most striking example of a resemblance that shouldn't be viewed that way at all is Luke and Paul. 2 young male characters destined for something bigger than themselves, with powers that goes beyond almost everything else. Yet that's when the similarities end, because while Luke Skywalker turns out to be the hero, the helper, and the savior, Paul Atreides turns out to be the opposite, consumed by his own power, almost like a Sith. It's very interesting to compare them, because both these characters gets presented with their fate at an early stage, and both of them fight against it.
You must not go.
But Han and Leia will die if I don't.
Get off me! You did this to me! You Bene Gesserit made me a freak!
Ultimately, their view of a fixed path, of being the Messiah, the Chosen One, etc. is the same. Yet it's the outcome that sets them apart. That Luke embodies his fears, accepts them to make the correct decision by throwing his supposed destiny aside, while Paul in the end chooses to embrace it, contradicting the opinion he so passionately shared a few moments earlier.
It's not a prophecy. It's a story that you keep telling, but it's not their story, it's yours.
Everything about the Dune story and the fate of this lost child can be linked to some of its first chapters when Paul meets the Reverend Mother.
An animal caught in a trap will gnaw off its own leg to escape. What will you do?
While it took some time for me to understand this scene's significance, today I can't stop admiring its brilliance. This situation, this box of pain and needle of death is a metaphor, presenting the tragic life of Paul Atreides and that this whole story was one big Gom Jabbar. The entire time Paul was stuck between a rock and a hard place, a dilemma without a real answer. Should he drink the water and become the voice from the outer world, a slave to the future leading millions to take billions of lives? Or should he refuse, leaving the Harkonnen to annihilate the Fremen? Like the test, Paul can't escape these choices. He has to keep his hand in the box, only this time the suffering wouldn't end.
As the unholy war spreading across the universe like unquenchable fire. A warrior religion that waves the Atreides banner in my father's name. Fanatical legions worshipping at the shrine of my father's skull.
A war in my name! Everyone shouting my name!
In the case of Star Wars, the scene when Luke looks out into the sunset can be interpreted as having the same effect on the story. It shows his two different paths, between staying on Tatooine as a farmer or following his instincts to explore the galaxy. This moment highlights that Luke has a real choice, symbolizing the beginning of his hero's journey and the destiny ahead of him.
I can't do it, Ben.
You cannot escape your destiny. You must face Darth Vader again.
The idea of a predetermined path in life plays a big role in both these stories. However, I find it difficult to decide whether I believe in it or not. In Star Wars, things are more ambiguous. The debate around the Chosen One is still ongoing today because George Lucas never gave us a clear answer. Dune, on the other hand, has more layers to it, with many different elements happening at the same time. It almost gives us too many answers, especially with the Bene Gesserit and the Fremen.
What your people did to this world is heartbreaking.
We gave them something to hope for.
That's not hope!
In the end, the Dune movies are adaptations of already composed books, which gives us this rich, detailed, and sometimes confusing writing, while Star Wars essentially was created inside the head of George Lucas. It's an achievement from the Star Wars point of view that people easily sweep under the rug, but in reality should be given a lot more praise. However, this is also something that is evident, especially in the writing, because George made up parts of the story as it went along. Although he had a vision for where Star Wars would end up, the process was more flexible and less structured. In contrast, the Dune movies, especially Villeneuve's adaptation, is more precise and deliberate in the story they tell. Dune Part 1 and 2 as a result feels sharp and confident in their progression, benefiting from the structured foundation of Herbert's original work.
I just focused on the book, kept the words of Frank Herbert very close to me. The book was my Bible. I refer to it constantly as I was shooting. All the answers were in the book.
To explain it in a simple way, these sci-fi juggernauts are in my opinion made for different kinds of audiences. Sure, they have similar tones to them, yet Dune is a soft sci-fi with capable and smart characters. Star Wars is instead silly, with stormtroopers and droids that can't do much at all, while leaning deep into territory of sci-fi descriptions. One story is for people who like to reflect on the different aspects of life, power and politics, and in the end to challenge them and realize that you can't take these things for granted. The other is more for entertainment, aiming to inspire and give you hope, showing that the light side reflects how a good person should behave.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
I'm not saying that these stories must be viewed this way, or that one isn't about the other, but I want to express that their foundations are very different. Still, both are creative stories that transport you to another world, offering an escape from daily life, which in the end is the beauty of it all. Do I want Dune and Star Wars to become the same? No, absolutely not. I don't even want to call one better than the other because of the differences I have mentioned in this video. Let's instead celebrate these two fantastic stories, and I want you to tell me your favorite quote from any of these films in the comment section below, and I will end this video by showing you mine.
The mystery of life isn't a problem to solve.
but a reality to experience. A process that cannot be understood by stopping it. We must move with the flow of the process.
If you like this video, continue to watch some of my content. Perhaps you like one of these videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you will have a great day.